Hello and welcome back to Everything Boats with Captain Frank Lanier, where we discuss boats and boating, from maintenance and repairs to seamanship and safety, as well as everything in between. This podcast is a companion to my YouTube channel of the same name, so if you like and find it useful, be sure to subscribe and please check out my YouTube channel as well, where you'll find hundreds of informative videos on pretty much every boating topic imaginable. Today's episode, Pimp My Dinghy for Safety. We boat owners are generally more safety conscious than the average Joe, particularly when it comes to planning our time on the water. From flares and life jackets to EPIRBs and radios, we outfit our vessels in efforts to anticipate Murphy's Law and cheat Davy Jones prior to even leaving the dock. That's why I'm constantly amazed at the number of boaters who fail to properly equip their dinghy or tender to the same level of safety. Many fail to grasp that the time and effort spent outfitting your boat comes to nothing once you're aboard your dinghy, unless you've had the foresight to properly outfit it as well. But I can see where I'm going right from the cockpit, you might say. It's right over there. What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, let's illustrate by way of example. While anchored near a quiet waterfront town, you decide to fire up the dinghy and hit the all-you-can-eat wing special at Jimmy's Oyster Shack. On the way over, the engine dies and refuses to start. No problem. You can just use the oars to row towards the town dock, if there were any on board. As the wind picks up and sweeps you past the docks and out towards the bay, you sensibly decide to drop the anchor while trying to get the engine started, or you would if there was an anchor on board. It's rougher in the bay and water begins splashing into the dinghy. Now would be a good time to start bailing, if there was a pump or a bailer on board. It would also be comforting to be able to radio the mothership and ask your crew for help. Unfortunately, the handheld VHF is sitting on the chart table back at the boat. You also don't have any flares or even a whistle on board. We could go deeper down the rabbit hole of dinghy nightmare scenarios, but you get the picture. Most of us wouldn't get underway without equipment such as a VHF radio, flares, or an anchor on board. Why should a trip in the dinghy be any different? Let's take a look at how to increase the safety of every dinghy ride, both for you and everybody else on board. First up, let's talk about the basics. While the legal requirements will vary based on the type and size of your dinghy, typical safety equipment includes a life jacket of the correct size for every person, a sound-producing device, an air horn, whistle, whatever, a bailer, and if operating after dark, proper navigational lighting. A throwable flotation device such as a buoyant seat cushion is also good to have on board. Your dinghy grab bag. The key to ensuring your dinghy is properly outfitted every trip is to make placing required gear on board as easy as possible. A life jacket bag makes it easy to toss and store PFDs on board. Similarly, a dinghy grab bag containing the rest of the necessities will keep everything organized and easy to bring. Any non-corrosive, buoyant, watertight box or container of suitable size can serve as a grab bag. Dry bags or smaller abandoned ship type bags, which are usually constructed of nylon and padded with foam, also work well. Regardless of what type or style you choose, make sure it's large enough to carry what you need and that it floats with everything inside. Secure or attach it to the dinghy with a lanyard so it doesn't float away if you capsize. What to bring? Next up is outfitting your grab bag, which could also rightly be viewed as a mini ditch bag. I will put a link below this article in the description section of how to outfit your, abandoned ship bag, which may be also interesting for you to see as well. So my dinghy grab bag contains a handheld VHF radio, signal mirror, whistle, flares, flashlight, several chem lights, tape, multi-purpose tool, small first aid kit, and a couple of space blankets. I also carry a small tool pouch with a spare spark plug for the outboard and the wrench to change it with, as well as a handheld compass in case the fog rolls in, making a trip back to the boat interesting. Additional items such as sunblock, a bottle of water, and maybe a few energy bars might come in handy as well. Cell phones are a good item to have too, but should not be considered a replacement for your handheld VHF radio. Get creative and customize the contents of your grab bag to meet your particular needs, but avoid making it so bulky that you have to, it's an excuse to leave it behind. Man, this thing's so big and heavy, I just don't want to carry it. Pumps and bailers. You should also have some method of dewatering your dinghy, be it a bucket and a sponge or that old standby, the venerable plastic jug with the bottom cut out of it, scooper. A small hand pump, such as the old naval piston type, mounted inboard of the transom works well too. Like the grab bag, your baler should also be secured to the dinghy to prevent loss in the event of a capsize. Oars, regardless of how you power your dinghy, outboard, sails, whatever, you should always carry a pair of oars or at least a paddle. Ensure oar locks are of adequate size and strength, and unless self-locking, it's also a good idea to have a light lanyard securing each oar to the dinghy to prevent loss while rowing. The oar locks on some inflatable dinghies simply mount into the sockets along the gunnels and tend to pop out fairly easily under anything but the lightest of rowing. Put in a little rowing time before any problems occur to see how your dinghy performs under various conditions. Some types, particularly inflatables, are poor rowers due to characteristically short oars with small blades and oar locks positioned too near the water. While living aboard in Hawaii, my dock neighbor swore it was easier to paddle his inflatable like a one-man canoe while sitting or kneeling forward than it was to actually row it. Anchor. Each dinghy should have an anchor and suitable length of rope on board for the area of planned use. Being able to put the brakes on while trying to correct a problem, such as a stalled engine, can often keep a relatively minor situation from deteriorating into something far worse. Folding grapnel and mushroom type anchors are easier to store and use, but typically don't provide as much holding power as a small Danforth or plow type anchor. A short length of chain can also be added for increased holding power if desired. The anchor itself should be securely mounted in an out-of-the-way but easily accessible location, such as beneath a seat or perhaps mounted to the transom. I keep mine mounted beneath the center seat of my sailing dinghy with the rode stored in a small glassed-in locker forward. Another option would be to store the anchor and rode in a small mesh or canvas bag, which not only serves as storage, but also makes it easier to carry on and off the dinghy. Mesh construction aids in drying after use. In addition to proper outfitting, here are some common sense tips to keep in mind for safer dinghy use. 1. If your dinghy uses an outboard, be sure to attach the safety lanyard or emergency cutoff to your person before starting the engine. This is especially important if your engine can be started in gear, which it should not be able to. Number 2, it's a proven fact that regardless of what Pepe Lopez or Captain Morgan says, you can't fit more people in the dinghy after returning from the Marina Tiki Bar than you could heading over. Know your dinghy's carrying capacity and don't exceed it. Newer dinghies will have a plate mounted on the transom stating maximum recommended capacity. Overloading a dinghy affects performance and stability, so if in doubt, make 2 trips rather than trying to carry everything and everyone on one single trip. Number 3, because dinghies tend to move when you step in or out, position them so that you can firmly tie both the bow and stern line to your boat prior to boarding and departing. Number 4, if you're on the hook and will be returning to your boat after dock, make sure you have some type of light on board to aid in locating your vessel. Mounting a solar-powered walkway light to the stern rail is a popular choice, but I prefer hanging a blue 15-inch neon light bar, available at most any automotive store, above the cockpit. Not only is it distinctive, but it also draws minimum power, and you know what, it looks really awesome at night. Number 5, ensure your dinghy has adequate buoyancy to stay afloat if capsized or swamped. While not a problem with inflatables, unless punctured, some hard dinghies are negatively buoyant. If yours tends to sink when full of water, consider adding buoyancy, either by glassing in a watertight compartment or perhaps adding foam or a few inflatable bags at strategic locations. And finally, number 6, if your dinghy capsizes and you can't right it, stay with it until rescued. Most dinghies will float, and a boat, even an upside down one, is easier to spot in the water than a person.